And good Monday evening, Pitt State football fans. Welcome to this playoff edition of the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with Coach Beck. Live at Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh, our home on Mondays throughout the Pitt State football season. And good news, we're still going. And Gorillas a 31-22 second-round win over Washburn in the national playoffs at cold, wet, and windy Carney Smith Stadium this past Saturday. But better than playing in warm weather and losing, so we'll take it however it comes, and eventually only hiccup of the regular season. So, Coach, on that front, you know, the revenge aside, you get in a single elimination tournament and no style points. This one had some bright spots for you, but, boy, great to still be going.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our players are very determined right now. They're very focused on what we're doing, and you have to give them a lot of credit. Our coaches did a great job with the game plans on both sides of the ball, getting our guys ready, and our guys did a great job of executing everything. And I thought the intensity they played with and the focus that they had throughout the game was awesome.
You know, and you've been in this position before as a coach and a coaching staff. Win or lose, what do you think of first when you have to play a conference team for a second time?
Well, you know, you'd like to play somebody else just to see somebody else and see somebody different, because you can kind of, if you play somebody different that you haven't played throughout the season, you can kind of, you know, go back and look at all your stuff and do the stuff that you start at the beginning of the year with, and some of the basic stuff. And because a lot of the other stuff that you do, you feel like you have to maybe tweak it just a little bit. Even on some of the run stuff that you do, you may want to do it with a different formation or a motion, or slice the back across the field, or something different. You know, you just feel like you want to maybe give them a different look, so it's something that they're not prepared for. But you know, the bottom line is, I don't know if it was so much revenge or whatever it was. Our kids, you know, Zach said it after the game, they wanted to, you know, we ended up being the conference champions, and we wanted to have a chance to beat the team that beat us throughout the season, and so that was awesome. But the bottom line is we were playing to move on to the next round of the national playoffs, and that was the most important part.
Do you worry as a coach about revenge affecting the focus of certain players?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can get too caught up in that and you know, kind of lose focus on what you're doing. But boy, you know, it was just one of those things where right before the game, a lot of times we stand right by the door right before we come out, and usually it's really excitable, and everybody's pretty cranked up and fired up, and Gus is usually beating on the door, and we're usually beating back, and it's always a pretty awesome moment. But this time, everybody was completely quiet, and so I was a little bit concerned. It made me feel like we're not ready to play. And Zach's standing next to me, and I said, "Are everybody okay?" And he's like, "Coach, we had a great meeting last night. We're ready to go." And you know, we've been doing a captain's meeting that we do the night before. We started that in 1985, and we've been doing it ever since. And it's kind of a really neat thing. And you know, Zach just said, "Trust me, Coach, our meeting last night was awesome. We're ready to go."
What'd you think of the weather when you get out there, warm up at 11:30 or whatever, and it's blowing and raining the way it is?
Well, we decided the other day. Somebody said, "Well, when I quit coaching, I'm going to do this." I said, "When I quit coaching, I'm going to be a weatherman," because you know, heck, they were wrong all week. You know,
right.
We were kind of excited.
In a
We
hurry.
were kind of excited about you know, getting out there, and yeah, it was pretty miserable early on, but you know, really during the game, it wasn't bad at all.
Once the rain quit, but
yeah,
the win and the coin toss, so we get into one of those games again, right, where the coin toss can become pretty important.
Yeah, it really was, and you know, we talked about it again, and then we kind of decided as a staff that we would probably defer if we won the toss, and then we thought for sure they would take the ball. Well, they ended up winning the toss, and they defended the goal. So, I thought it worked out okay.
It did, and, you know, I think a little over 6,000 in attendance. More than that were sold. But for the people that braved the elements, I thought the atmosphere was pretty good.
I thought it was awesome. I thought the fans that were there, it was, have some of my family ask, was it loud? It was really loud. At times it got really loud. And I promise you that makes a difference for our defense. Our defense feeds off that, and it's a credit to the people that went ahead and went through the elements and stayed out there because that noise, it can make a difference, and our defense really got excited, and they gave our crowd something to be excited about.
Boy, they played, and both sides of the ball did a great job to complement the other. We'll step aside, take our first break. When we come back, we'll delve into that first quarter, and it was not a great one, but Pitt State hanging in there. So that and more to come with Coach Tim Beck right after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with the coach, live at Chatters, one of the early scoring plays for Pitt State in the game, and we'll get to that in a moment. Need to draw a name here for a winner. Ahmad and his staff providing us with a $25 gift certificate here to Chatters in the House of Wings. Dine-in only, expires at the end of the calendar year. D. Dickey, come on down and claim your prize. That's the running joke at our show here each week, is that if you want to do that, get here early to get to that table, and you will be assured of a win. So congratulations. Enjoy that. Big thanks to Ahmad and the great job they do here at Chatters in the House of Wings. So, Coach, you end up with the ball, as mentioned, after Washburn wins a coin toss and going into that wind. And I don't know what – there was the first play of the game wasn't great, I think, and then you end up at 3 and out and a bad punt snap. So, given – I was talking about this in the 5 o'clock show, given how you didn't play well against them first time, that's going to make them confident. So, an early safety, you had some things to overcome right away.
Yeah, we really did. We spent a lot of time again on our opening script, and our opening script we're 3 and out again. So
wasn't it?
We're a little frustrated with that, and then we go out and snap the ball over the punter's head and end up giving them a safety. So yeah, it wasn't a very good start, and everybody's kind of looking around and going, man, what's the deal? But that was just the beginning, and I was kind of looking. They were up 9-0, and there wasn't very much time off the clock yet.
Yeah.
And you kind of start figuring, how many more possessions you're going to have in a half and those type of things. But again, our kids have faced a lot of adversity throughout the season, and they just really don't get rattled. So that was a good thing.
And it's a deal that, Billy Evie, he's been pretty reliable for you.
Yeah, he really has. I think it's just a combination of the wind and, their snapper had one that was high as well, about the same position that we end up getting a partial block on, or we think it was a partial block. But,
yeah, it was.
It was. Billy's been good all year, and it's just the one at the wrong time. But again, we were able to overcome it.
Senior out of Lewisburg, third year handling those duties, and he does that. So then you got to kick it, a free kick into the wind, and from the 20, used Chase McCoy on some kickoffs the other day.
Yeah, we actually felt like we needed to pooch like what they did to us the last time, and we needed to do it. We had worked on it several times in practice. We've had a couple of really windy practices, so we've worked the pooch on our kickoff return team, and we got Chase up there, and he had a couple of really nice ones that were really, again, hard to catch. And so, we felt like we would do that against them. The first one was not as good as we'd like. The next one that he did was pretty darn good, and we had a chance to get that ball.
Yeah, the first one they end up getting and running it out to the 46. Your 46, in fact, they score 8 plays later. The good news, there's a lot of time left. The bad news, there's a lot of time left when you're down like that, 9-0. Your second series, although you have to end up punting it, how important just to get one first down and maybe get over the jitters a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's important. It's only a 5 or 6 play drive, but again, we got a first down and got moving a little bit, and I think that was a big thing, and it led to better things to come.
How about the catch by Jake Craig on that punt snap? That was pretty important.
It was a very athletic move by him, and kind of high and right, and he snags it kind of with one hand and is able to get it off. Had some pressure because of the time that it allows them to get back there, and he was able to handle it and get it off. So that was a good play by him.
Well, they're pinned at their own 20-yard line after a 35-yard kick. They get a couple first downs. First time we see what your defense was all about that day. They line up to go for it, and then they drop Semino back a couple of steps. So you figured he was going to kick it. It's a touchback. So that's a team, an offense that's so diverse. You have to respect, I guess, when they line up like they're going to go for it. But for your defense, you can general comment, I guess. What a day for those guys.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I think when you look at the whole game, there's 2 main things that stick out in the game, and that's the goal line stand that we had and the 11-minute drive that was, however many plays, 19 plays or that took off 11 minutes of the clock when we're going into the win. Those two things together were just an outstanding drive by our offense and an unbelievable stop by our defense. And there were a lot of other great plays, and defensively we played well. When you hold them to 22 yards rushing on 23 carries, and Justin Cooper was hoping to break their rushing record, and again, defensively, outstanding job.
Well, you get through that first quarter, it ends 9-0, so you end up, you don't want to let it get away from you, obviously, but to settle in a little bit. What's that say? Maybe I'd asked you before the game about concerns with playoff inexperience. What's it say about the maturity or leadership or poise of your team?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about, again, our leaders on defense and offense, and then our seniors and our captains. I think it just talks about the maturity of the team. Just so much different. We're still talking about a lot of the same guys from last year, just that much more mature, and their leadership's just been awesome.
Washburn has to punt to open the second quarter into the win, 24 yards. You get it at your own 49, so you're down 9-0. You're through that first quarter, obviously still very much part of the game. What kind of lift does that give you to get the ball at midfield?
Oh, get the ball at midfield, and then be able to go with the wins. Makes it just a different mindset for you, and it opens some things up offensively. It backs the defense off, because when you're going into it, they start really compressing you, and it's hard to throw a deep ball. So it changes everything on both sides of the ball.
Drive down, nice drive, 7 plays, takes exactly 3 minutes off the clock. We heard the call there. Mandel Dixon gets in. Here's one of just a couple of kids you choose not to redshirt this year. Talk about the decision to get him in there in the playbook.
Well, the neat thing about that was we were in a formation where it looked like that John Brown could carry the ball to the wide side of the field or laterally, which we had done several times, and Eric Love's done it as well. And so the reverse out and the action that way kind of holds the linebackers a little bit, where they don't compress the A gaps right now, and it allowed us to reverse out and hand it to a 240-pound back that was able to hammer it in there. And the thing about Mandel, you can see, is he's got great leg drive. He's a pretty physical player, and the second time he did it too, you can see him twist and turn, and he did several things like that in high school. He's a good receiver. He can run the ball. He's a pretty good blocker, and so there's a bright future ahead for Mandel.
Yeah, Red Oak, Texas, a little bit south of Dallas. He was signed after the majority of your signing class, and talk about the decision not to redshirt him.
Well, just him and Devontae Bosby are the two that we didn't redshirt, and they both play for us. And it's tough to make those decisions sometimes early on, because you say if you're not going to redshirt them, then we're going to make them. We're going to play them, and we haven't played Mandel as much as we'd like to throughout the season. But it's kind of a tough position, because he could be a tight end, could be an H-back, could be a fullback, and so getting him into the mix has been important. And again, he's another weapon for us that we feel like he can be advantageous for us to have him in the game. And there's some things he can do that make it to be a tough matchup for the defense.
You don't get many high school kids from that far away. Talk about how he found his way to Pitt State.
Well, we had some phone calls, and we call around and talk to some people, but Coach Weimer's got a lead from one of the coaches actually at Kansas State, and that they had looked at him and thought about taking him, and it was just kind of borderline on whether or not they'd take him or not. And there's a lot of kids that ends up happening to, where he may be or may not be a Division I kid right down to the end, and then they end up not signing on signing day. That's why sometimes there's too much put into signing date, especially at the Division II level, because there's a lot of good players available, still right after signing date, and he was one of those that we ended up finding out about right after that, and was able to get him up on an official visit, shortly thereafter signing date, and then was able to sign him about a month afterwards. So definitely a good pickup for us.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player. And he's good now, going to continue to get better. You score, get within 9-7, you hold them 3 and out, you get the ball at your own 40, eventually a pick 6. But, again, with the wind, and could you sense the momentum turning your way a little bit after that touchdown and the 3 and out by your D?
Yeah, I felt like we were defensively that we were just I think the momentum was really growing for us defensively. I think our confidence was growing as we were playing, and it's a lot of times offenses keep defenses off balance. I thought our defense did a good job of keeping them off balance. Anytime you can make Dane Semenhoek go 14 of 40, you're playing pretty darn good defense.
Real good. And then the pick six, you get one first down, and Zach running for his life there. And was he trying to throw it out of bounds, you think?
Yeah, I think he was trying to get rid of it. I think he saw Briston, but he was also trying to throw it that direction and kind of get rid of it, and it just kind of floated on him. And of course, the guy made a nice play. And then we were in a position we didn't have anybody to go. We just, it's one of those things, if you're going to throw it away, you got to get it out of bounds.
Well, it didn't, and they would take it to the house. But 16-7, your offense or defense had still only given up 7 points, so playing very well. But PSU would respond with a little flurry late in the half to take the lead into the locker room. We'll step aside, take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about that strong finish to the first half. That and more with Coach Tim Beck, live from Chatters after this. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head football coach Tim Beck, presented by CDL Electric, back live at Chatters Restaurant and Bar. That was the strike late in the first half. Pitt State did get the lead on that. We need to draw another name for another $25 gift certificate here to Chatters and the House of Wings. Again, dine-in only. Expires at the end of the calendar here. Billy Dickey, come on down, buddy, and you can, there you go, use that at your leisure. It's a good table, a good family to come from, I guess, tonight to win those things. Also out of this break on the show each week, we give you our Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club trivia contest brought to you by Vital Signs. And you can join the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club. Text the word Gorilla Fan, all one word, to 66937. And for being a part of that, you will get to take part in a trivia contest Mondays throughout the school year. Vote for player of the game all season long in football and basketball. And tonight's question, Pitt State will meet Northwest Missouri in the quarterfinals of the playoff Saturday. What is the Gorillas' all-time record in quarterfinal games? It's either 4-2, 4-3, 5-2, 5-3, or 6-2. Multiple choice ballot will be texted to those members of the mobile fan club. We'll give you the winner a little bit later once we learn the correct answer and winner. So be sure and take part in the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club. So just as you're building momentum, Coach, you get that pick six, but you guys don't hang their head. You get a solid kick return out to the 36-yard line and end up with a nice drive. And, the kick return with the win, you're going to get it and end up. Do you consider the 36 pretty good field position?
Oh, yeah. 36, we'd take that every time if we could. But, that's the start to a good drive.
Well, it was a good drive, and 8 plays, 64 yards. Again, you called Dixon's number down there, and, you give certain formations, and you mentioned, boy, you run it with different guys. It's almost a power eye look, but how much now do you feel, hey, it's one more thing the next team has to account for?
Yeah, exactly right. It's something else that they have to prepare for, and we haven't ran it a lot in between the guards. A lot of people will run the sneak when they get really close, quarterback sneak, and we're not as big as we'd like to be at the center and guard positions, and sometimes that's a little bit more difficult for us. But it gives you something else and gives you another area that they have to prepare for.
Is there any concern with putting the ball in the hands of a true freshman who hadn't carried it all year?
Well, we'd worked out it. We had some time the last 2 weeks, so we had worked on it live. I think our work team was getting tired of us running that play because finally we got to the point where we had to say, okay, you guys back up because offensive line is going to fire off, and we worked the exchange quite a bit.
Well, then your defense, again, 3 and out. I mean, you see a pattern really. Once you held them on downs, they were really limited the rest of the first half. 28-yard punt and a 12 or 13-yard return, and there you have it in their half of the field again. And this time, second play, you go up top. Talk about the play. Zach hits Andrew there on the double play action.
Well, it was a really well-designed play by our coaching staff. We faked the zone on the run to the tailback, and then faked John Brown on the reverse. And so it was kind of a bang-bang fake as far as faking it to the tailback and then faking to John on the reverse. And then the next neat part about it is Andrew Castaneda looks like he's cracking the free safety and then gets vertical. So it's one of those things where you knew the corner was going to be on his outside and have leverage, outside in. But we knew the fake on the reverse pauses everybody just for a second. So really good job of blocking up front, well designed, great fake. I had a lot of people tell me they thought John had the ball for a minute, going to the wide side of the field, and then threw it right down the pipe for a touchdown, and great throw and catch.
And given Washburn that safety, Casey Kern, he's a very good player among their leading tacklers. Certain teams, is that stuff more effective against?
Yeah, Casey is a very good player, but he's a run defender. He's going to go make tackles on the run, and so you can catch him flat-footed every now and then. It's hard for him to get deep as much as they depend on him making plays in the run game. So, it was a nice design play and good job of execution by our offense.
Well, then after you score, they have the ball back and have good field position after a good kick return in your territory. But Brian Sanchez steps in front of one. Big pick because Washburn's knocking on the door there.
Big pick right before the half. Again, we've kind of got momentum in our favor, and we don't want to give them anything like the last time we'd played them where we, threw the screen and dropped it, and they picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. So I thought, for how we had played coming up to that point, being down 9-0 and then coming back and taking the lead, thought it was really important for us to keep the lead going into half.
And here's Bryant Sanchez. We could sit here and talk all night about a guy like him that not the greatest athlete, certainly not the biggest or fastest necessarily on your team, but just good football player, huh?
Bryant's another one of those guys. He's a walk-on that came here to Pittsburgh State. He works extremely hard. He doesn't say much. He just goes about his business, and he just finds a way to make plays. Every time he's in the game, he finds a way to make plays for us, and he made some big plays for us Saturday.
Well, and you look at a guy like that can. How much can that rub off on other people that a guy like that can contribute?
Well, he's a great example of guys that if you want to play bad enough here, and sometimes they don't come on a scholarship. He came and he's earned a scholarship, and he's another great example of guys that we have. And there's a lot of those kids like that have earned their way, and they're kind of end up being the glue of your team.
And then you look at that play he had against Southern, the big hit at the goal line. He doesn't mind being physical.
Oh, he's physical. He's not a real big guy, and not real strong, but he's a football player.
You get the ball at your own 11, just under a minute and a half. Wins at your back. Talk about the mindset there to maybe not put the foot on the gas too much.
Well, we had to be careful there. Again, I felt like it was just important for us. Going through what we did and being down and then being able to take the lead, I thought it was important for us to just try to get out of the half at that point.
And, it was a day that you end up with great balance on offense. What'd you feel good about that you were able to do in that first half offensively?
Well, we kept them off balance more than we did the first time. That was a big thing. We were a little bit too predictable the first time, and we were a little bit more aggressive with our play calls. And that's something I'll talk about later when we talk about throwing the ball to John Brown. Because I felt like we were aggressive with our play calls on both sides of the ball.
Well, it was, and then defensively for, again, the position you were in a couple times, you get the one stop, and then the 3 consecutive 3-and-outs to end the half, and giving up 7 points with your defense. So I imagine felt pretty good there.
Absolutely. Defensively, again, our coaches do a really good job of making some adjustments at halftime, but we had really put some pressure on, and again, we only ended up with 1 sack for the day, but there was him going 14-40 was a big factor with us being able to get pressure on him and hitting him a few times as he was getting ready to release the ball. And towards the end of the game, it definitely made a difference.
It made a huge difference. That's a tough kid back there, and he was a sore kid on Sunday. You mentioned that, and the way your defense played, given the first meeting, they ended up on the field way too much and not played poorly through about 2.5 quarters. But how much do you think that unit just wanted to show better after giving up 500 yards and 43 points first time?
Yeah, no question. They wanted to play a lot better, and again, it was a combination of us offensively and defensively playing better on both sides, helped them defensively, and giving them some breaks over there, instead of them being out there the whole time. Compliments to our offense and our defense to help them out.
And, different players, I think you ended up with about 6 or 8 different guys between 4 and 7 tackles. We see 7 tackles for loss, 7 pass breakups. It was a great team effort. How tough was it to pick a player of the game, so to speak, for this one?
Well, it always is tough every week, but for our coaches, our defensive linemen, we end up picking Gus Toka and Spencer Worthington. Thought they both played really well, and then our defensive back of the week was Paul Robinson. Again, he had to make a switch over, and then just really played solid for us.
Yeah, they had a good day and a lot of contributions up and down. Gus Toka. We sit up there, and Aaron talks on the broadcast about all the different things. He seems like a great arsenal within his moves of a pass rush.
Yeah, he really is. He's a very explosive player, and he's got great get off. He uses his hands well, and he gets held a lot, and is able to fight through all that, and again, very determined. And you can see how he plays with determination. He wants to get back to that quarterback when they're in the pocket.
And then John White ends up making some plays for you. There's a guy that bounced around early in his career and gives you that quality depth right now, and maybe a little inconsistent. But what'd you see from him the other day?
Yeah, John played better. He has played very inconsistent, and we're working with him, and coaches are trying to get him to go because he can be very disruptive. And so he played better, and hopefully that's something that we'll see again this week.
Yeah, I'll need that and then some. We need to take another break with Coach Beck. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to that second half. We'll return to Chatters on the Coach Tim Beck Show right after this. Welcome back live to Chatters Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh at Lomshek on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Last break, we gave you our Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club Trivia Contest, brought to you by Vital Signs, and asked with Pitt State and Northwest in the quarters, what is the Gorillas' all-time record in quarterfinal games? The options were 4-2, 4-3, 5-2, 5-3, or 6-2, and the answer was D, 5-3. Pitt State making their 9th appearance in the quarterfinals, 5-3 in their previous 8. Last time, 2005, lost at home to Northwest, and this will be just the second time for a conference team to face the Gorillas in the quarters, and that one in 05, obviously the first. Tambury Wilson of Pittsburgh knew that, so congratulations. She'll win an MIAA championship T-shirt courtesy of Vital Signs and Pitt State Athletics. One more $25 gift card to give away here to Chatters and the House of Wings. Dine-in only, expires at the end of the calendar year. Coach Beck stirring it up pretty good in the bucket. Jack Lane, come on down. That is the lucky table. So here to our left, their persistence has paid off. A lot of loyal customers, if you will, at that table. So Coach needs to do a better job of stirring it up, or a worse job, I guess, of stirring up those names. So, well, Coach, it's a 21-16 ball game with Washburn at half. Obviously very tight on the scoreboard, and you get the ball to begin the second half, and you're going into the wind and go 3 and out, not the stop you necessarily want, but boy, some job again by your defense. They get great field position at your 48, but they have to kick it away, end up losing some yards, in fact. So to answer that 3 and out with one by your defense, it squelches their lift early on.
Yeah, it really did. It was important for us, and again, we wanted to get off to a better start offensively and didn't. It was our choice the second half, so we could have chose to take the win, but instead we decided to take the ball, and then we'd have the win in the fourth quarter. So you would really like to get a good drive put together, and we didn't the first time, but we did the second time.
We talked about that in the broadcast. We couldn't talk to you at halftime per NCAA rules, but I was a big fan of holding the win for the fourth quarter. I thought that was important. It was that big of a factor. And then when you get it at your own 20, they end up having a touchback for a punt, and their backup punter, their guy injured on that partial block earlier, a 19-play drive. Hey, that's nice and loud, isn't it? 19-play drive. 11 minutes and 12 seconds off the clock. So, Southern had one against you. You see that when you go into the wind, and your defense over there, your guys are moving around trying to stay loose and warm. But, man, what a dream drive given those conditions.
Yeah, it really was. And had a fourth down conversion that we made and passed to John Brown. And there's just a lot of big plays in that drive. But it was just what the doctor ordered. We needed to, take some time off, and the toughest part about the whole thing is you drive it all the way down there very methodically, and then we get down there and then, have a little timeout session, and then all of a sudden you got all your O-linemen and everybody saying, let's go for it. We got to go for it. Let's go for it.
No.
And you just can't. You just couldn't.
Had to get points.
We had to get points out of it, and plus it put us up 8. So, I said, guys, you did your job. Now let's go kick a field goal. And they're like, all right. So, but boy, it's tough when they're all right there in your ear saying, like, we're going to get it, let's go for it. But you have to kind of get back away from them a little bit and say, come to your senses a little bit and say, all right. we got to go get points.
You look up to me. I'll tell you what to do. I don't always agree with you guys on the air, but that was a no-brainer to kick that field goal and get up. And Chase has had a good year, and he knocks it through. How big a deal is that, being up 8 versus 7?
Oh, it's huge. And, it forces them, if the game stays like it is, and sometimes it does, it's forcing them to have to make a 2-point conversion to tie you. So it was definitely very important.
Yeah, it changes the thinking a little bit. What a drive. And a big part of that drive, even though he had, I think, 3/3 in the 1 4th down conversion, pretty good yards, 4.5, 5 yards on first down. A lot was Spradling that drive.
Well, first down is extremely important. It'll be extremely important this week, and we've got to be good on first down. If we can put ourselves in 2nd and 5, then I think that we become very difficult to defend because the different things that we can do. So first down's a huge down for us.
Jason Spradling ends up, you look at his numbers, and not a career-type day, but went with him almost exclusively in the second half. And, he comes through, averages almost 5 yards a carry for you on 17, probably his most extensive action of the season. What'd you like from him that he got it going there?
Well, the one thing about Jason is he's a very good inside runner. And, he's not the fastest guy on the team, and he's maybe not going to ever break an 80 or 90-yard run, but he is very, very good inside runner. He has great vision. Bryston's very, very powerful and very aggressive, but at times you need a guy that can make a cut here and there, and Spradling is the guy that has tremendous vision, and he's hard to tackle. He gets some pretty good yards after contact.
Yeah, is there a shiftiness about him that maybe doesn't take a direct hit very often?
Yeah, there really is, and he's with the ball in his hand, he becomes a really smart football player, and knowing when to go ahead and step on the gas and when not to, and so there's a point where we decided we would try to keep those guys fresh, and Spradling got the majority of the carries in the second half, but he made the most of them when he had his chances.
Boy, he did, and then the quarter's over. They get the ball with a minute something to go, and you end up forcing them to punt. You're pinned at your own 3-yard line. End up throwing an interception on that series, but, also able to dig out of there a little bit. Or no, that's when they get it and you turn them over on downs. So you have to throw it. Do get the wind at your back, but what did you see on that second pick?
Well, we had pressure up inside, and there was a defensive lineman that had his hands up, and so Zach has to throw it a little high. And, of course, Briston's tall enough, and just overthrew him just a little bit. He got a hand on it and ended up tipping the ball in the air and got it picked. So, it was he catches it, it's a first down. It's, 15, 20-yard gain in a first down, but right off his fingertips.
Yeah, just a matter of inches. They end up getting it at your 28, and then the first stop for your defense in that fourth quarter, deep in your own territory. So you kind of wonder, with an offense as prolific as Washburn, how many times can they be called upon? And turns out they were up to the challenge.
Yeah, they really were, and again, we had some guys really step up and play well, and again, defensively, it was just, they were just very, very determined all day.
Well, and then they end up turning it over. You go 3 and out. You get it. They get it at their own 35, decent field position. Then they start their drive. That was a frustrating drive. Might have been the same one that the fumble happened, that they called an incomplete pass. Questionable pass interference on a ball that appeared to be uncatchable. So, not only defending the opponent, but your kids are fighting it a little bit, or having to overcome some things out of their control.
Yeah, we talk about that. You get in the game and it's still tough to handle it sometimes. But we talk about you gotta expect a call that doesn't maybe go our way. You gotta expect that it's going to happen, and boy, sometimes you can just get so frustrated that you kind of lose sense of what's going on out there. So. I tell our players that every once in a while you got some players yelling at the officials on the sideline and say, "Hey, you need to calm down. That's my job. That's what I get to do.
That's my job on a broadcast.
That's what I get to do. That's what we get to do, right, Eddie?" And but yeah, sometimes it's frustrating. But the bottom line is you haven't ever seen officials change their calls very often. So you might as well quit complaining and move on.
Well, and you did, because Washburn, they're this kind of team, and Northwest is too. They get a break, they're going to have an aggressive play call. The seam route to their tight end down to the 1-yard line. You stuff them. Then the loss, and talk about the mindset on a goal line stand. You stuff them once, okay, you do it again. Does there come a point in there at second, third down you really start to believe that, hey, we can keep them out of here?
The biggest thing is the first one. You get that first one, and then it's like, all right, because if on that first one, then offensively when you're on the other side of it, it's like, okay, if it's 2nd and 1, Are we going to ram it in there one more time, or are we going to do play action, maybe try to hit the tight end or the fullback in the flat, or what are we going to do here? And, we were able to stuff the second one, and then a loss, like you said, on the third one, and then they're forced, if they're going to go for it, they're going to force to put it in the air. They're not going to throw it on the fourth one after they ran it 3 times. They're just not going to.
Were you surprised they ran it 3 in a row?
Yeah, I was. I thought maybe second or third down we'd see play action.
Yeah, because they have tight ends and one's as a wing, and they motion the fullback and all of that. And then they try and run that stretch play, and you get it. And then again on the rollout, he ends up getting knocked down back at the 12-yard line. So pass pressure, a big part of that.
Yeah, and he got out of the pocket, and then Spencer was able to put pressure on him, and we had the receiver covered pretty well too. So, just another unbelievable stand. I thought it was, and those things, you can feed off of those things, because it's kind of like when you come back from behind 22 points against Northwest. Now, our guys believe now when that ball's down there on the goal line, they're going to play their tails off.
And I think it was second down. You think about run plug type defenders. Jason Peete came up and made a stick. Your safety running the alley there.
Well, and the other thing is Luke Stringer's out of the game at that time, so we've got Eric Brantley in the game.
190 pounds.
190 pounds, and shoot, those guys are in there battling, and defensive line, got some great penetration. So just a great stand by our defense.
Well, then you get it to where you get a first down, and then of course the call of the game, the big strike to John, and you've done this before, deep in your own territory, not afraid to take that shot deep.
Well, I was, Coach Wells and Coach Rampy and I kind of talked about it on the phones, and I was all for it. I thought, they suggested it, and I said, you bet, let's do it. Because, again, we felt like we were going to get one-on-one. It was a time where we needed to be aggressive with our play call, and I felt like. And we didn't want to just, run it 3 times and end up having to punt it on 4th down. So we needed to be aggressive with our play call, and boy, it was a great throw and great catch. John beats the guy, and then he has to wait just a second for it to be there, or he would have scored on it, because the guy's not going to catch him. But he has to slow up just a little bit. But man, that was very much a boost for our offense.
55-yard gain. How much of it, though, you get a first down before you do that, and now Washburn has to think, because of your 11-minute drive, they have to think about stuff in the box a little bit, because you've shown the ability to play keep away.
Absolutely. And, again, their mindset is we're going to try to grind clock. And so again, they're coming forward, safety's coming forward. We got one-on-one with John Brown on the outside, and we're gonna win that battle quite often.
Spradling, a 17-yard run we heard last break. Boy, nice bounce to the outside, kind of an old-school straight arm as he gets to the edge. So good to see him get in the end zone after the second half he had.
Yeah, it really was. And it was, that was just kind of like that guy didn't have any chance to tackle him. He got out there, and it was just like he just gave him a really good stiff arm, and off to the end zone he was.
You're up 15. Nate Dreiling gets an interception. Now you're thinking, well, 2.5 to go. Game in the bag. They have their timeouts. They end up using them, and it would get a little antsy there, but Nate just looked like he made a good cut in front of a receiver there.
Nice play by him. Again, he's so smart in the pass game. He's a great run defender, but he again, that's where his film sessions and all the studying he does comes into play, and another great defensive play by him. And
5 picks for an inside linebacker on the year.
Unbelievable. He's got tackles for loss, interceptions. He's got a sack or 2, and he's a leader of our defense.
Yeah, unquestioned leader, no doubt about it. And then you'd end up punting it away. They get the ball back and score. There's 26 seconds left, but they're going to get it within 1 score and an onside kick. How nice was that to see that extra point off the upright?
Well, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. That was rejected.
Yeah.
The goalpost rejected it, so that made us feel a little bit better. But again, they made a couple of huge plays on that last drive to go get a score, and you just didn't feel. You don't feel good. You don't feel good because they can line up an onside kick it and get it. Now they're going to have 2 or 3 shots at the end zone, and that's scary. So
that is.
So it made us all feel a little better to see that thing bang off the goalpost.
The extra or the onside kick doesn't go 10 yards, and I think Nate wanted to scoop and score there.
Yeah, that wasn't that's not the smartest move he's ever made, but one of those deals. He's we said, Coach Weimers and I said something to him on Sunday about it, and he was like, Coach, just a player making a play.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, well, just stay away from him next time.
Trying to make the highlight reel. So,
yeah.
Well, it's a good way to end it. 31-22. We'll take our final break, come back, and talk about those green and white Bearcats coming to Pittsburgh this Saturday. We'll return with more with Coach Beck right after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek and the coach here for a few more minutes as we get set for Chiefs Kingdom at 7:05. Coach Northwest Missouri in town, and obviously we have their number with that win at Arrowhead earlier this year. But what a remarkably consistent program they've developed into, and everything they went in the offseason went through with the coaching change and then the tragedy. And so, obviously, by their right, it's a good season. But this is a team with a never-say-die attitude, a couple of good come-from-behind wins here in the playoffs, and a team we know well, but obviously a great challenge ahead of you.
Oh, it's a huge challenge ahead of us. But, Northwest was down 31-17 going into the fourth quarter and found a way to come back and tie the game. And then Midwestern drives the ball down the field, kicks a 27-yard field goal and missed it. So then they go into overtime, and Northwest scores first and goes up 38-31. Midwestern has an opportunity. Then they have a fourth down play where they throw a little bubble screen into the boundary, and they probably would get the first down if not more. And the ball's underthrown a little bit, and the ball hits the turf as he's catching it, and so it was game over right there. So pretty amazing win for them.
Yeah, it's I look at what they're doing right now. They're running the ball very well. James Franklin's really had a big year and maybe have gone with more of a running philosophy. We saw that in the second half at Arrowhead. He could become a factor. Talk about dealing with their balance on offense.
Well, that's going to be the tough thing. Is the better they run the ball, the more difficult it becomes to cover their receivers vertically down the field. And their vertical packages that they do off their play action is really, really good. It's tough on your secondary to help on the run and then be able to defend the vertical stuff. So we got a big challenge, and again, Northwest has got tons of experience in the playoffs, coming off two big wins. They're going to believe they can beat anybody, and they're going to be telling their kids the same thing we told our kids last week. They gave up a 22-point lead and let us beat them, and they're going to want to come down here and prove to us that was not ever going to happen again. And it can work. That can work against them as well. But our kids right now, I just feel like we have such a close group. They are really have really come together this season. Playing awesome, and so we're a very determined group, and it's going to be a great effort, I'm sure, on both sides.
How about Northwest on defense right now? What are you seeing?
Northwest on defense is I feel like we are a lot better offensive team than we were when we played them at Arrowhead. But as you watch them, they're a much better defensive team right now too. The thing that sticks out, Chad Kilgore, I think he had 16, 17 tackles against us when we played him at Arrowhead. Now their other inside linebacker, who's a redshirt freshman, he has 15 tackles in the Midwestern game. Between him and Kilgore, they have 26 tackles between the two inside linebackers. And then you've got Lawrenson that's a first-team All-MIAA defensive tackle. I mean, they're really playing well right now on defense.
Very sound, very physical, flow very well. All of that. All that'll be important. Kickoff 1 o'clock. Tickets through the ticket office through the close of business Friday. Season ticket holders until tomorrow 4 o'clock before they're released to the general public. So get out there and be loud and all those good things with Northwest in town with the quarterfinals on Saturday. Coach, as always, thanks for your time. And for Judd back in studio, I'm Eddie Lomshek here from Chatters. Thanks as always for being with us. We'll talk to you Saturday from the stadium. Chiefs Kingdom is next.